the HeySue Podcast. I'm going to make some changes to the pod and turn my attention to something that has held my attention for most of my life. That's selling. Whether I was selling used books out of a radio flyer as a kid or arguing that my flavor of ice cream was the best flavor of ice cream in the world, or actually selling a product or a service, selling has been in my blood for a very long time. I have a new book coming out on September 9th from Hachette Balance called Never Ask for the Sale, Supercharge Your Business with the Power of Passionate Ambivalence. This is a pragmatic, actionable guide on how to align yourself and your greatest gifts with what you do for a living, and tactics on how to sell a business or a product or service that depends primarily on you. You can pre-order this book now, by the way, at www.heysue.com/book. Because I'm excited about this book launch and because I'm going to be talking about sales a lot over the rest of the year, I wanted to bring in some people that I know well who are tremendously sales oriented in their mindset and their day-to-day lives. And today I want to welcome Kevin Brown. He's the co-founder and CEO of Friction Labs, which he's going to tell you all about because he'll do a better job than I would. Hi, Kevin. How are you?
Hey, Stu. How are you?
I'm great. I haven't seen you in like a year. What's been happening?
Oh, geez. We moved into a new warehouse. It's our biggest one yet. We bought a bunch of equipment. It's the biggest check I've ever wrote in my life.
Okay. Congratulations.
Took on a little debt to do that. That was pretty fun, dealing with banks. Yeah, life's good. Climbing well. Family's good. My son's about to go into middle school. Yeah, it's like all grown up.
That's frightening. Not frightening. That's great. And also amazing at how fast time passes. Kevin, we know each other from a long time ago. We used to sell software together. Well, you did most of the selling, and I don't know what exactly I did. I did a lot of the clapping when you sold things that were great, or your team sold things.
We had great jackets. We had great jackets.
We did have matching jackets. First of many matching jackets I've had, but the only one with a man who shared a jacket with me. Thanks, Mountain Hardware. Kevin, tell us what Friction Labs does.
We make the world's best chalk for athletes. So if you're an athlete, you need good grip, Friction Labs has all that you need.
And what kind of sports do people use chalk in?
So we use chalk in rock climbing. We're working with Rogue Fitness now. So we're doing a ton with powerlifting, strongman. We're doing a bunch with gymnastics, and actually a bunch of athletes in sports like tennis, golf, baseball, and pickleball have all started to find our products. So it's getting really exciting.
Is there any business that is not endeavoring to get involved with pickleball? Like, is the Whopper going to be a pickleball edition of the Whopper? It just seems like you have to do it.
I think so. I mean, it's the fastest growing sport.
I know. Well, that's fantastic. Kev, you are, I don't know how long you've been rock climbing, but you're an avid rock climber still, right?
I am. Yeah, almost 28 years now.
Wow. Okay. And how about your kids? Are they rock climbers or just watchers of rock climbing?
No, they're in it now. Yeah. I mean, even Jacinda's getting back into it. So yeah, I've pulled them all into it. So it's great.
Fantastic. I love that. So Kevin, what I've learned about podcasting and talking to CEOs, and you're the co-founder and CEO of Friction Labs, and what I've learned is doing a lot of backstory, at least to me, is really boring. So I don't want to do that. I want to go directly to the point, but I'll share a little bit of backstory as I understand it, and you fill in where I've missed. So sure. For a long time, when I met you, we were both selling in tech, doing marketing and sales in tech, selling software. And at some point you made a decision to leave I don't know if they were cushy surroundings of quasi-corporate America, at least startup America, and a successful business, and start your own company. What led you to do that?
I'm not really good at being told what to do. I really value freedom above probably anything else. So I just kept looking at my bosses and I was like, you've got a better gig than I do. I want to be the boss. And I thought being the boss was all like going to be everything. Turns out it's not really the greatest job on the planet, but running your own business, I think it is the last great adventure in America. And I think everyone should give a shot at it.
I agree with you. I also, we share the enjoyment of being our own bosses for very predictable reasons. That's probably the thing we have most in common, even more than the jackets. Um, Kev, when you started this chalk company, you spent a lot of energy on branding. And can you explain why you put that energy in the context of the rock climbing industry?
Sure. So our product was a super commodity before we started doing it. So think about coffee before Starbucks, right? It was all about like the biggest cup you could get at 7-Eleven. Coffee tasted horrible, but it was all about giant cups. You get a free cup when you go to the gas station and fill up your car. So when we came in, chalk was being sold for like $2 for like a little 2-ounce block. But it was really crappy chalk. So we came out and we made really, really good chalk. And at first, everyone was like, chalk is chalk. It's all the same thing. Why should I pay so much for yours? So we had to educate, we had to inspire, we had to like just convince people to try it. And then it was like once they would try it, we would get these like ridiculous emails of like, I thought you guys were totally full of it. I hated you, I hated your company, and now I tried your chalk. This stuff's amazing. I'm a user for life. Can I get a discount?
How often did you give discounts?
Early on, never. And to this day, we kind of have the same ethos. We don't like discounts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to share with folks who may not know Friction Labs, who may not either rock climb, play pickleball, or do any sport where your hands are involved, what are a couple of the brand names for your product line?
We have Unicorn Dust, Gorilla Grip, Bam Bam, Secret Stuff, Magic. We try to take this thing that was really boring and try and make it a little bit more fun and add some personality to it. Yeah.
And as our listeners are listening, where can they go on the web to see some of these incredible logos, packaging? It's just unbelievable.
Oh, thank you. Frictionlabs.com, Amazon, pretty much any climbing gym or REI, and now Rogue Fitness.
Great.
Mhm.
Kevin, really early on, I came to visit you and at your
You wore
headquarters,
all
which
black. You wore all black.
to a chalk factory. And that's hilarious. It really was a chalk factory. I mean, there were just barrels of chalk. There probably still are barrels of chalk, but the equipment was modest. Equipment was mostly young dudes, I think, for the most part, who were putting chalk in bags, this magical chalk. What was it like starting from nothing? And how did you get this chalk for the first few times in people's hands?
So starting it early on was scary, exciting. It was sort of like all of the type 2 fun adventures that years later, it's way more fun to think back than living through it at the moment. It cost me most of my life savings at the time. But getting it on people's hands, I would wake up at 4 in the morning, and at the time, Facebook Messenger was cutting edge. That's the 11 years ago. And so I would message every persnickety pro rock climber that I could. And I said, hey, Kevin, I've got this new chalk. I think it's really special. Would you be willing to try it? The only thing I need back from you is what you thought of it. You don't have to give me an endorsement, a testimonial, nothing like that. You'll have plenty of chalk for at least the next few months. What do you say? And just give me an address. And then I'd send it off to them. And then yeah, they would come back like a couple like weeks or a couple days later in some cases, and they're like, this stuff's amazing. What did you do to this? Can I work with Friction Labs? Can I be an athlete for your team? And then so we'd start working with them and be like, just tell your friends when you go out, just tell people that we exist, tell people about our chalk, tell people you like it. And yeah, just started really slow. I mean, our first month that we launched the website, we did $0 of revenue. The next month we did 14. The next
Wow.
month we did 17. So humble starts for sure.
Yeah. It turns out, I mean, a lot of those athletes did go on, and I don't know if they were sponsored athletes by you, but they certainly were on your team. And that was, it seemed like your success rate was high, which was incredible.
Mhm.
How did what was the next step after just getting in? Really, influencers weren't even a thing at the time, but you were sort of creating an influencer campaign. What happened next?
So for the product to be real, we had to get it on the shelves of climbing gyms. So I started cold calling climbing gyms, and they were like, yeah, I've heard of you in some cases, or what's the friction? What are you talking about? And then I would tell them what we had, and they're like, no, we're good. Chalk's chalk. No one's ever going to pay that much for chalk. So we had to get really creative. So we came out with this happiness guarantee where I was like, hey, look, you're never going to be left holding the bag. If you buy this from me and it does not sell, I'll buy it back from you at the same price and I'll refund your shipping.
Wow.
And so that's how I got people to take the risk and like, okay, I'll bring in 10 units. I'm like, cool, I'm going to call you next week, or I'm going to call you the week after it ships to you and see how it did. And it started selling and people were like, I can't believe it. Someone just bought $25 a bag for $25. I'm like, great. Well, you only ordered 5 units, so you probably need to place another order. And then we would get them to order. And then the other tricky thing we did was every wholesale shipment, we included a bag of the best gummy bears on the planet. And we've run out of gummy bears about 4 times, and we rarely get complaints. But our buyers be like, yeah, the order came, everything's great, but something's wrong. There was no gummy bears. Like, oh, sorry. Yeah, they're all out. We'll have some in a week. Okay, so if I place an order in a week, can I get gummy bears? Yeah, we'll even double you up to make up for it. So.
That's hilarious. Did anyone ever return chalk unsold?
In 11 years, we've had five companies. 3 of them were going out of business, and 2 of them, like they bought something that wasn't selling as well, so they swapped it out for other sizes.
That's amazing. That makes perfect sense. In my book and in my coaching and facilitation business, which I'm involved in now because I also made the jump around the same time as you did, I have a money back guarantee. And I talk about it. No one has ever used it. No one has ever exercised it on the client side. I've used it a couple times on the seller side where I felt like my work just wasn't a good fit for someone. And it feels risky to recommend that to anyone who's starting to sell.
Mhm.
But when you price aggressively, as I do and as you do in your sector, or at least, I don't know if you're pricing aggressively or just demanding, price for value. Who knows if it's aggressive or not, it's a story. But I do think it helps people get over the hump. Just take the leap of faith. Like when I talk to people in my work, they'll say, well, what do I expect to get from what you're going to do with us or what you're going to do with me in a coaching relationship? And I'll just say, well, I don't have any charts or graphs. I can't do that for you. That's not how I think. But my expectation at a bare minimum is that this will be transformational. And frankly, if it's not, I'll give you your money back. And I do feel really strongly about that because I also can't measure. I don't even know if you can measure it, right? You sell a subjective product. How good does this chalk feel?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to like that comment I made earlier about we don't do discounts. I think discounts attracts the wrong customer. And I think the approach that you and I take with money back guarantee attracts the right customer. And if they're willing to go on that journey and be like, okay, you said it was really good. If it's not, I'm going to get my money back. I would rather deal with that person than like, I don't think it's worth X. It's worth, 70% of X. So I'll pay you that. And then I'm going to beat you up for the rest of the time that I try to be a customer of yours. I don't want to deal with that guy. I'd rather deal with the person who would take the risk with me.
Yeah, I have also had that experience. I've had someone, there's always this theory that some people just like to negotiate, that they want to win something. And sort of like, well, this is either going to be great. What we're going to do together is either going to be great or it's going to be average. And the price difference between great and average is enormous. So giving you 10% back doesn't even make sense, because you're still going to take an entire day with your whole executive team and all that money is going to be shot anyway. So I'm not just going to do this because you want to feel good about yourself for negotiating. I agree. And also when I noticed as an Airbnb host, the only time I get bad reviews early on were when I discounted for people. They just weren't the right people to rent the place. It's a premium place. How did you make a break into retail with Friction Labs?
I think, we had about 30 gyms on, and then it just started to roll. We went to our first trade show and we met I don't know, maybe 35 or 40 accounts. We took a bunch of orders right there on the spot. And then we got into REI. And when REI brought us on, they put us in all 146 stores to start. So as soon as we got that, it was like, hey, look, we're good enough for REI. Like, seems like you probably should take a chance on us. Like the whole no one's going to buy expensive chalk thing, that story's not really coming true. So maybe you should just get on board. And, from there, like we've just won people over. Like, it comes down to like customer service. We strive like partnership is a priority. That's a huge thing that we have with our wholesale accounts. And like the relationships have all evolved. Initially, it was just just retailing our product. Now we do everything from using our products to help them with marketing campaigns, to drive memberships, retain memberships, get new people in the door, comp support, all that stuff. And unlike anyone else in our industry, everyone else, when it comes to like free product or promo product, they make it really difficult. And like, you got to ask like 9 times if you're the gym. We're super loud and proud. We're like, we proactively reach out and like, hey, what do you have coming up in the next quarter? Well, here's what you guys have accrued with us. Here's what we can do to support. Let's get this all lined up for you. Cool. Hey, if you sell more, we can do more to support you. So how's that other brand doing for you? Not doing much? Maybe you should drop them. Not doing, probably do you better.
Yeah. That's fantastic, Kevin. I love that point about retaining and growing existing customers. So my understanding of most large brands, bricks and mortar brands, such as they still exist, is that they like to do tests, and then they want to let you prove yourself, not only prove that the product will sell through, but also prove that you can supply the product, which is not easy for early stage companies. What was your selling strategy that led to REI doing a full chain release?
Well, I got lucky. So there was an old buyer who told me no. Oh, I think she told me no, like probably 30 times. But I also asked like that 30 times within like 4 months. So she left, and this new buyer came in, and he was charged with making climbing relevant at REI. And he's like, "You guys seem like you're pretty hot right now. We're going to give it a risk. You can fulfill this order, right?" And I'm like, yes, of course we can. I really shouldn't have said that, but we got through that, and yeah, they've been a great partner ever since.
Are they one of your largest accounts?
Yeah, they're one of our largest accounts. Yeah. Mhm.
Are you global?
Oh yeah, we're in like 27 countries now.
That's unbelievable.
Mhm.
Kevin, share a little bit about, my story about you is that you love selling enormously, as much as I do. You maybe love it more. I don't know. First of all, is that true?
Um, if I'm proud of something or I really like something, I got a hard time not talking about it. But I don't want to like doing a deal just to do a deal to like, put a little notch on the, like that's not me. But when you genuinely get someone something that helps them and then they're better off for it, then that whole thing feels good. So that's the lens I take when I think about selling.
And when you think about growing your business, as you have been you have been doing ever since you started it, even if slow, from $14 to $17 a month, tell me about the satisfaction you get from seeing that growth. What bell does that ring for you?
Oh, I mean, that's what it's become, right? Like in the beginning, there were all these selfish intentions of what I wanted to get out of the business. And now it's like we've had people on our team, they've bought their first house when they thought they were never going to be able to. We've got a guy who, thought he was going to have to like work until he was in his 70s. And he's put so much money into his 401k. And every couple of quarters, he's like, check it out, KB, look how much I got in my 401k. Saying like we do like a profit share, and like so I just like that part, like the team, this community that we've built, that's the thing that like really gives me juice now. And like, if we're not growing fast enough, or if like the profit share is going to suck, that's where I lose more sleep than anywhere. Cause it's like, no, these folks back in production, like they're working really hard. Like they deserve to get a piece of the action. We got to make sure the action's big enough for them so that they're excited about their opportunity.
I love hearing you talk about that. That makes them just, I don't know, that just warms my heart. That feels really so positive. I can see that growth could come from a philosophy like that. When you think about the future of this business, what stands out to you as like milestones 3 years from now, 5 years from now that you want to achieve other than continuing to fund really exciting developments for your team?
I think it's really breaking into new sports. There's like climbers in chalk. It's like this very intimate thing, and everyone knows. Like you could talk to any climber about chalk for quite some time. Then there's like all these other athletes that they're challenged with grip. Like in tennis at Wimbledon, they put a little bucket of sawdust, and the athletes, these amazing athletes, grab some sawdust and try and use that to dry their hands. Sawdust sucks at drying your hands. It's just a crappy solution. So when those folks find our products and then they're like, hey, I could use my same racket for the entire tournament. Usually I have to swap out because I soak my grips. Like I played so much better. It's like, awesome, you're kicking ass. Like that feels really cool. This new partnership with Rogue and like getting into like the strongmen and like CrossFitters and like the strong women. Like these women are like they're picking up stuff that like I could never even fathom about picking up. It's like it's so cool to see what they're doing, and they're so passionate and so excited about their sport. So like we've always talked about, our customer is a high care athlete. Like they may be really good, they may not be that good, but they really give a shit about their sport, and like they do everything they can to be a little bit better. So when they find our product and they perform a little bit better, they just get so juiced, and like the way they come back to us and like comment on Instagram and like engage with us, it's like it's cool. Like it feels good when you're helping people.
I bet. I love that. Kev, one of the things I cover in Never Ask for the Sale is a thesis that I've put together over lots of different selling contexts, which is I call passionate ambivalence. And the idea for that is that as a seller in a sale that relies predominantly on me, which I would say Friction Lab still relies not nearly as much as it did at the beginning, but a lot on you and whoever else is standing behind a sale, that you can be as passionate as you are about what it is you're selling or what piece of business you might get. You're allowed to just be unrestricted in your excitement. And at the same time, counterbalance that excitement with relative ambivalence about whether the deal closes.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a sense of sort of the train's leaving the station, or this thing we got going is really good. And if you guys want to be a part of it, great. And if you don't, that's totally cool. Do you practice that? Do you believe in that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, like, even if I know that my product could really help someone, if they don't believe me, if they're not on board, I'm not like, I'll just give them for free. Like, I'll just be like, you know what? It's clear that like, there's nothing I can say. And you know what? My words don't mean anything. Like the proof's in the pudding. Like, go try it for yourself. And here's my personal email. Tell me what you think. You think it's awful? Man, I'd love to hear that. Just tell me why you think it's awful. You think it's great? Cool. I'd love to hear that. But you tell me what you think. And 99 times out of 10, they come back and they're like, I can't believe how good this stuff was. I had a story about your products or your company, and now I'm Friction Labs for life. I mean, every once in a while it doesn't match for someone, but it's pretty rare.
Yeah. One of the things that makes me think about is sort of the flywheel effect. And something I talk about often, and also in Never Ask for the Sale, is that the more good you're doing out in the world, the more good you get to be doing out in the world. And hearing your story really reminds me of how you have fueled a flywheel and how you have multiples based on influencing and just getting the product out there. Doing that takes patience. Takes a little patience. So sometimes I'll have people reach out. You're smiling. Why are you smiling about that?
I'm not a very patient person, and you're 100% right. All of this stuff takes a lot of patience.
In your experience, how do you know? Because it might take patience, right? But also, if it hadn't happened this way, or if it still wasn't happening this way, you might have had to decide, well, the product wasn't really that good. It wasn't that helpful.
Mm-hmm.
How do you advise people who are building their own thing on which thing might be happening? Like, everybody has their own timeline and how patient they can be. Not everybody can be totally patient if they're doing a main hustle versus a side hustle. But also sometimes either they're not the right fit for what they're doing, or the product isn't the right fit for what the market needs. How should somebody think about what it is if things are stalling, and when to wait and when not to wait?
Oh, I think, like the whole like pig-headed determinism, like I'm just gonna make it work. Yeah, there's times for that, but like you got to be pragmatic more than anything, I think, when you're starting your own thing. Finding good mentors and people who can be really honest with you and in a way that like you're not gonna like get, even if you have an emotional response, it's not gonna like you're not going to argue with them. Sometimes you think you have a good idea and you're awful at executing. So a good idea never comes to life. Sometimes you have a bad idea and you're really good at executing and you might actually make that puppy fly, but it's not going to be the thing that you want it to be, and it's not going to get you where you want to go. So I think you got to surround yourself with people who are going to be really honest, and you got to ask the hard questions. And if things aren't working, um, I think that's just sort of a sign from the universe that like maybe there isn't a demand, and maybe you fell in love with your idea, but it's not everyone else's thing to fall in love with. And if you're like when you really start to have success, I don't know, like you work and work and work, and it feels like it's not happening. And then all of a sudden, you get like a couple of signals here and then a couple signals there. And eventually, you get really loud signals. And it's hard to ignore those signals. If you never get a loud signal that you're on the right path, you might want to check your map.
Yeah. Did you have kill criteria for Friction Labs when you started it? Like if we didn't hit X by Y, we would go back and get a job?
I had a 3-year deal with my wife that I said, I'm going to spend this much money from my savings account to make this thing come to life. And if in 3 years I'm not paying myself at least enough to cover my end, I will at worst shut this down, maybe turn it into a side hustle, but I'll go get a real job somewhere and make it work. So I had that 3-year clock, and I think it was like 2.5 years or so that I was actually able to pay myself. Like, it was like the worst money I'd made in a long time. But man, I was like, come on, Jacinda, like this is going somewhere. She's always very supportive. So she was like, yeah, I mean, it's we have it's not working. That's a big Friction Lab saying. And she's
Yeah.
like, oh, it's not working. So why don't you give it a little bit more time? 11 years later, it looks like a good idea. There were definitely some points early on that it did not look like a good idea, but yeah, it's worked out.
I love that phrase. It's not working. That might end up as the title of this episode. Kevin, we've talked a little bit or a lot about selling and how you hold yourself and your passion as a driver for getting adoption, which I think is an incredible gift that you have. Are there any other secrets or ways of being around building the business that you think you're really strong in that you want to talk about?
I mean, finding good people to help you. Every person who's in an instrumental role in the business had no prior experience. Had like they just had good DNA, Sue. I could just tell that with the right coaching, that they would be willing to do it. And we make people read a lot of books here. Like you get a shot at something, but you're responsible for making that thing come to life. And the way that you're responsible is you have to educate yourself. And there's great podcasts out there. There's a lot of great stuff. There's so many amazing books that really teach you the skills that you don't have. And if someone's willing to put in that kind of work, then for me, that's a signal that they're someone that I'm willing to put more work into. And if they're willing to go on the ride and I'm willing to help them get on the ride, 9 times out of 10, they can do something really impressive. And I think, yeah, like finding those people, bringing them on, yeah, I think that's a unique skill that I have. And I think too oftentimes when it comes to selling, the person who's selling can't step out of their shoes because they got their talk tracks, they know why they got their value props, they're just, I got to hit my quota, I got to do this. Quotas are stupid for the record. But I have like a real ability to get in the customer's shoes.
Yeah.
And why would I not do this? And I think it's because I am a customer of Friction Labs. Like, if I'd never started this company and someone else did, I would probably be the person who bought the most products from Friction Labs. So when we make something, we're making it for someone who has a really high standard. And like from what the product is to how we engage with our customers, how we speak to our customers, how we show up on social, all of that. you got to put yourself in the receiver of that. And it's like, okay, well, I don't want your sales pitch. Like, what's in it for me? Like, why is this going to help me? I give two craps about your company until I do care about your company. But right now, what's in it for me? And how we craft those messages, how we show up for people. Like our money back guarantee is something that no one else does in our industry. They're like,
Wow.
oh, we'll give you a credit on another order. It's like, Joker, I didn't like your stuff. Why do I want to buy more of your stuff? Like, just give me my money back. And it's like, yeah, just take your money back. You don't want to work with us? Cool. Hope you find something that works for you.
Uh, Without naming names, not to bring it down, but I'm curious, what's the biggest sales loss you've ever had?
Oh, I mean, we've lost accounts. We've had really good accounts, and then we had a competitive company come in and they lied about their products, and we got kind of shut out from them for about a year and a half. And another big Friction Lab saying is, we win the war of attrition. Others will come and go. We will always be. And so we just keep showing up. We kept emailing, we kept calling. Lo and behold, they got a new buyer. Year and a half later, like, I don't know why I got this stuff here. It hasn't sold in 6 months. Will you guys work with us? Heck yeah, we'd work with you guys. Like, we did really good with you. Let's get you started. So we lost, we won that one back. I mean, along the way, I don't know, like, if the opportunity, if it's not the right opportunity, it kind of sucks that you don't get it. But in the end, I'm happy, because if you force it, it never works, you know?
Yeah, I mean, your version of that is, if you force it, you don't sell it through, or the customers of your customer are not happy. My version of that is, if I do bad coaching, like, A, that feels terrible. It feels
Yeah.
awful to be a lousy coach. B, I've got somebody walking around telling a bunch of people that they had a lousy coach, which is an absolute disaster in my mind. So that's where my money back guarantee comes through. But mostly, it just, like you're describing in a different context, obviously, it just feels bad. Feels bad every day. It feels bad when I think of that account. I'm like, oh, yeah. I agree with you. I mean, I think a lot of the way I think about this is aligning myself with the best things about me and what I'm doing for a living, which, after, 3 careers, I think I've finally done. And the story you're describing, knowing you and just hearing what you said today, is a great story of personal to professional alignment. And I'm really in awe of the fact that Jacinda gave you 3 years, because that's a really long timeline, Kev. You married well.
I did. I think I've got a decent reputation. So I think, I think she also knows what a pain in the ass I am. So if I didn't have a chance to go and try and fail, I probably would have not been that fun to be with. So yeah. Maybe a little self-serving on her part. She knew what she was getting into.
All right, Kevin, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on Friction Labs, on selling, but most of all, the way you share your energy here is exactly the thing I think that is driving the momentum of the company. And it's been so much fun to watch over the last 11 years. For all of you out there, go to frictionlabs.com or find them on Instagram. And thank you so much for listening to this new HeySue podcast format focused on selling. Let me know what you think about it on LinkedIn when you see this post. Also, we're going to try a new experiment. This is also going to appear on YouTube. All of our pods are going to appear on YouTube. So feel free to jump over to HeySue and subscribe to our feed on YouTube. We look forward to seeing you next time. We're going to interview a bunch more CEOs, a bunch more heads of sales that have good stories with great energy that they want to share with you. Thanks a lot, Kevin.
Thanks, Sue.